I'm Sean, back here with Syd Vinnedge. Syd, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. So, Syd, could you briefly explain what you do in the movie industry or the TV industry?
It's the television industry, most appropriately. I've done some movies, but they were movies for television. And here I am at a digital convention. I'm just talking to you fellas about what is digital. And I guess it's any form of communication using what's available technologically today. I'm an executive producer. I try to make things happen in the entertainment business, in the television business. And the two things that resonate most clearly with me and that relate to a convention like this or coming together like this is one thing is how things really don't change. And that's in terms of content. The content is pretty much the same. It's as Daryl Zanuck said 80 years ago, there are three things to remember in the business. Story, story, story. It's like the old saying for real estate. It's location, location,
Right,
location.
yeah.
But the other thing that really resonates with me is technology. So how everything is changing so quickly. It's remarkable. So I did a thing earlier this week. We had a conference, and we had a fellow named Howard Rosenberg as the interviewer, and he's interviewing Ted Sarandos. And Howard Rosenberg was the television critic for the LA Times for 25 years. He was the outstanding television critic in the United States. And I held up a copy of the LA Times when I introduced him because nobody reads the LA Times anymore. They all get their news, what news they get, digitally.
On their phones.
On their phone
laptop.
right, exactly. Then when I'm introducing Ted Sarandos, now Ted Sarandos is the head of content for Netflix. So he's really at the center of what's happening in entertainment today. Back in the 90s, Ted Sarandos, well, when he was in high school, he used to ride his bike over to the local video store. And that's when video cassettes were just starting. And it was the only one in the state of Arizona. And it was a 900-foot store with all a bunch of cassettes all over the place. And he liked to just hang out there because he loved television, he loved video. And so when he started junior college, the owner of the store hired him. He eventually ran all the stores in Arizona, but there were 8 of them at that time. Then he ran the whole company. And then fortuitously for him, he met Reed Hastings in 2000 and became the head of content for Netflix. So here's a guy, I don't know how familiar you are with Netflix, but I would say House of Cards is the most unique piece of entertainment around right now, and he's the one who got that going, and Orange is the New Black, and all the things that Netflix is doing, and Netflix is changing dramatically the whole business.
Right.
And so what I think is important is that why is education significant? Because if you don't have the education, you're not going to be adaptable. You're not going to get into those positions, and then when things change, you're not going to be able to adapt to the change. So when I started out in television, there were 2.5 networks. Color was just starting, and look at what we have now. Maybe there were 24 series on television then. There are 350 series on available today, this year. There are going to be close to 400 series available next year. So you can see how much changes. And I've only been alive for 120 years, so you can see what's happened there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question. I doubt it, but
No,
I
that was
rambled
great.
on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you have any advice for students that are entering the workforce from the community college system or in education?
I think by definition, if community college is 2-year, then get 4 years of education. Do anything you can to get those next 4 years.
And why is that?
because I think a lot of people don't consider 2 years, completion of 2 years, really higher education. And a lot of people who hire, they're filters. Just like anything you do, they're always filters.
Right.
And you aren't going to get through those filters unless you have 4 years. When I was doing Price is Right a while back, we needed to hire somebody. And in Price is Right, if you get a job there, it's like for life. You can do really well. And this was an entry job as receptionist. And my producer wanted to hire this woman who didn't have a college education, didn't have a degree. And she was really strong advocate of this young woman who had good references. I said, I'm against it. I would not hire this woman. Not because she isn't a delightful person and everything else. She has all those qualifications. But she doesn't have a college degree. That's just a filter. 6 months later, they came to me. They wanted to fire her because she just wasn't doing the job. It just indicates to employers that you can complete jobs,
Right.
that you're responsible, that you can do something. So that's one good reason. Second good reason is to get a 4-year college education is I think it enhances and develops your sense of curiosity. So you're on a track where you're learning your whole life and you're able to grasp new concepts and make changes because things are going to change. And they're going to change dramatically.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to shift and go with the changes. So that's what I would recommend. Go for 4 years.
Well, thank you so much, Syd.